Brendan, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thank you.
Good, good. If we could just start quickly with your team news, please.
Yeah, pretty much the same squad from our weekend's game.
And obviously it was a disappointing weekend. There's no shying away from that. You had some strong words to say about your players. 3 days on, do you stand by that? Is there a real problem for you?
It's not a real problem. I think that, listen, firstly, the responsibility, like it always is, when you lose a game of football, whatever the context, whatever the loss, the responsibility is always the manager's. You know, I pick the tactics, I pick the team of the players that's available. And when you lose a game, that's my responsibility. What is also important, what I was saying after the game, was there's an accountability with players, you know, and for our levels, we didn't perform and we lost the game, deservingly so. So now for us, and this is what football brings, it gives you that opportunity to show your resilience as an individual player and as a team. And that is something that for us probably this season has been too inconsistent. You know, we've had some excellent results, but that consistency we haven't delivered with. And also the weekend, it being a derby game, the first game of this type for such a long time, there was a huge disappointment for me, for the supporters, because I've been in enough derby games and high-profile games to understand and get a sense of what they really mean for the supporters. You know, they'd have turned up there at the weekend in the real hope that they could see the team get through as the defending champions of the cup in what was a big game. But they've seen the team not play to the level that what we would want. So you can't shy away from that sometimes. I'll always look after players, support players, protect players, but there's also an accountability with players. But that is something that this squad of players we've always looked to do and have that resilience to bounce back and enjoy it, because that's what football brings, the chance to demonstrate your mentality and your resilience as an individual and as a team.
You talked about taking responsibility yourself as manager. Do you feel that any criticism has been fair? Do you feel under pressure?
To be honest, Kirsty, I haven't seen anything. I just know now, I'm well experienced now to know that if you win games, it's great. And even sometimes then when you win, it's not so good either. But certainly when you lose, you're always open to criticism. So I'm pretty sure that would have been the case on the Monday, and that's part of the job. For me, you will always be under pressure if you're not getting results. There's no, you can't deny that. We've had a great run here for a period of time, but when the results, and especially the one at the weekend, that will always put you under pressure as a manager. So I get that, and I understand that, but it's not something that I shy away from. We will fight and look to show that in our next game.
Do you feel the full support from the club? Have you had conversations? Are you feeling their full backing still?
Yeah, I've never ever felt that I haven't, and but I also understand football. So I've got a great relationship here with the people at the club, very close working relationship with everyone. But I also understand that you have to get results. Whatever happens to me in the future, whatever those relationships don't change. The great people here, the good people, have always supported me. This year has been a challenge, and it's been challenge after challenge, and primarily because of the players that we have missing. But we've tried to always look forward and try and do the very best that we can. But of course, the weekend's result wasn't great, so you can't mask over that. And I would never try to. So, but I'm an experienced manager. I understand you need to get results in the game, and whoever's playing, and obviously the one at the weekend wasn't what we would want.
And what has to be the aims now for the rest of the season for you and your players?
Well, I think it's just finish as high as we possibly can in the league. We're still in a cup competition, so we want to go as far as we possibly can in that. I hope that we can get players back and show our true level at some point between the end of the season, and not just the true level, but the consistency of that. So that would be the aim. It
wasn't so long ago you were showing real spirit, beating Liverpool at the King Power. It's kind of more of that spirit, I guess, you need to see, isn't it? And it does show what you can achieve with this team.
Yeah. It's just consistency. I think the nature of the game at the weekend, we actually started well in the game. Looked a threat, looked dangerous. As soon as we conceded the first goal, and then very quickly after that, when we conceded then the second, then it looked like to really rock the team. And of course, when you don't have that stability and in that back line, and in particular in the two centre half positions where we've suffered really this year, and any coach manager will tell you that's the bedrock of your team. You know, you have to have that stability there, and like I say, we never had that, and from 2-0, we weren't at our same level.
So just finally for me, how tough will tomorrow night be? How tough will it be facing this Liverpool side again?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the toughest game that you could have probably on the wake of a disappointing result. But as I said earlier, that's what you have to enjoy as a player, and certainly I'm looking forward to seeing our reaction going back there. We had an incredible result of spirit and quality when we played them last, on the back of playing Manchester City on the Sunday. So I know that reaction is there. So we now got to dig deep over these next numbers of weeks and look to show that consistency and look to show that hunger and that fight. And let's see if we can get a result.
Thanks, Brendan. All the best.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Kirsty. We'll go to Naz Premji from the Premier League.
Hi, Brendan. You okay?
Hi, Naz.
Brendan, you mentioned accountability for the players. Have you seen, since the defeat on Sunday, a reaction from the squad during those training sessions and a determination, really, to put things right that went wrong on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's been a real sort of reflective mode since then. It was hugely disappointing, and sometimes when you lose a game, you go away and you reflect, and then you can bounce back really quickly. I think this was a really disappointing performance as well as result that allows us to reflect. But we will go again. We'll galvanise the squad. It's what you have to show in these moments. And the biggest thing now is the reaction. And you're really looking at the performance as much as the result, because you can lose a game of football. And I've always said since I've been in here that what never must ever be broken is your spirit, because normally in football you get the chance to go again. So for us, we look to take the spirit in that we showed against Liverpool in our last game and bring that mentality into what's going to be a really tough game for us. But that's the challenge that, as I said, you live for it at this level, to show your resilience and show your mentality to keep pushing.
You mentioned the injuries, Brendan. From an outsider looking in, and I had just a list of the players that you've got out. Have you, in your coaching career, in your managerial career, known an injury crisis on this scale where, you're missing, 7, 8, 9, 10 key players, and in the centre half positions and that defensive backline, you could arguably, your 4 best defenders are on the treatment table. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just been one of those seasons, but we've never tried to use it as an excuse. But we know that if you're missing that level of player, then of course that can affect the quality of your game, and that's clearly been the case. However, there's been opportunities for other players to come in and play despite the injuries, and like I say, amidst of all the issues that we've had, we're sitting sort of in a mid-table position. But it's one that we really want to look upwards, and in order to do that and to climb upwards, you got to perform. So that's something that is all our responsibilities between now and the end of the season to try and do.
And looking at, you mentioned it at the weekend, in terms of maybe a reset or a restructuring or a reshaping of the squad, has that performance at the weekend given you sort of food for thought for the summer in terms of ins and outs, and has the planning sort of been sort of moved up a step after that kind of performance?
No, the performance of the weekend probably just reaffirmed what we already knew anyway. It's when I talk about a shake-up, we're talking about a healthy shake-up. It's something that is natural. If you look at the game at the weekend, there was 9 players from the 11 that played were here in the first day I was here. And now we're nearly 3 years later. So for evolution and squad development and competition, you need to evolve the squad. And you put alongside that, losing a couple of top class players, then that tells you naturally the squad needs to evolve. So that's, as I said, it's a healthy shake-up that's required. We've got some really talented players here. But what a club like ourselves, what we must always have is a hunger and an ability to want to improve and develop. And sometimes that comes from bringing in players that have that. And that will also act as a great coach for other players that have maybe developed and improved over a period of time here, but still can develop more. So yeah, it's definitely a healthy shake-up, but it's not on the back of the weekend. It was something that was always needing to happen if we are to continue to improve and challenge the other teams that are improving.
Just final one from me. In terms of some of those longer term sort of injuries, is there an update? Are you any closer to getting any of those key players back sooner?
I think the closest one will be Wesley Fofana. I think he will look to train next week with the squad, which will be great news for us. And then it's just really going to be about timing when he comes back. Johnny's still a bit of time away. Vard's still a wee bit of time away. Great to have JJ back, getting some games. He's just finding his position again. He was never going to be perfect coming back, but he's finding his legs again, finding the space on the field, and so that's great. Ricky got some game time at the weekend. Timothy's still a little bit away. So yeah, I think probably Wesley being the closest to be back on the field, and then we'll just assess where he's at in terms of game time.
Brilliant, Brendan. Best of luck and good luck for the rest of the campaign.
Thanks, Naz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, James Savundra from TalkSport.
Hi, Brendan. You spoke on Sunday about there being some worrying signs that you saw from the players. Can you give us some insight into what you meant by that? What things have troubled you in particular?
Not just our lack of response, which was the surprise. We made mistakes in the game, which was disappointing. Like I said, we started well. And looked in that first 15, 20 minutes was to have the quality and the game idea of what we wanted to bring to the game. But then we conceded a really soft goal, and then an even softer second one. And it was more the reaction from that that was disappointing. And so that's something that you definitely need to have in football, because you won't always have it your way. You need to have that leadership and that mentality to go again, and it's something that's been a hallmark of this team, but certainly wasn't there at the weekend. So that's something that we need to improve.
From a leadership point of view, do you feel like you've got enough leaders there on the pitch at the moment? Of course, without Johnny Evans and Jamie Vardy at the moment.
No, that side of it is something that we don't. I wouldn't say we've got real natural leaders. I think we've got a lot of young players that are finding their way and developing, and then we have a number in the squad. But that's always been the case. Obviously, you take Johnny out, and you Wesley Fofana is someone who's very inspiring in his performance and how he deals with things. So you miss those two at the heart of your team, then it can suffer. But listen, I've got a really good, honest bunch of players. I've always said that when I came in here 3 years ago, they were 13th in the table, and over this last few years or so, they've found themselves up challenging the very best teams in this league. they've had relative success in terms of finishing in a European place 2 years consecutive, and they've won an FA Cup and a Community Shield. So the key is that with that cannot be your pinnacle. You have to be able to keep climbing mountains as a player. If you want to be content and safe and just climb the valleys, then fine. But for us, it's about always climbing the mountains and looking to the next challenge and keep striving. And for that, you cannot be timid. You have to be aggressive. You have to fight. You have to keep working. So these are the messages that we'll keep giving to the players.
You've always spoken about how brilliant the players have been over the last 2 seasons. What do you think has changed? Do you think it is a mindset point of view from a few of the players?
No, I just think we need to. I've said it before. We need to reinvigorate the squad. It's as simple as that. We even when you're succeeding as such, we're a team that, and I've always had this in my football career. I've always tried to develop teams that people will talk about and enjoy watching, and also have success alongside that. And I think here, in this opening period of our time here, that's what we've been an aggressive team, a team that's hopefully hard to play against, and we've had some success with that. But in order to evolve that and keep it going, you need to continue to work to bring in the players, and we unfortunately haven't been able to do that. But that's what I'm saying about the summer. It's a really, really important time for us, because naturally, some players, if you have that success, it can bring a comfort. And we're not a squad that is like one of the top squads where if one player's not doing it as such, you can bring him out and bring another one in. So that's something that we need to look at over the course of the summer. I've always said it. It's been a joy to work with the guys here, but my job is to push them, not to let them settle and be the best that they can be.
Thanks, Brendan. All the best.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Simon Stone from BBC.
Hi, Brendan. I hope you're okay. Just on that, I think most people would accept that the last 2 years, 2 seasons, have been exceptional, with the club mostly in the top 4, winning the FA Cup. But clearly for you to be in those positions, that means one of the bigger clubs with bigger finances is missing out. How realistic is it for a club like Leicester, with the finances that you have, to keep pushing, to keep being in that group? Is a season like this one not natural, that there's a correction at some point?
It will be, Simon. I think if you look at the fight for being in the top 4, you probably have 10, 11 clubs that will believe that they can fight to be in there. So the challenge, of course, is great. You put in what would be the natural top 6 clubs in terms of history and size and financial clout. You put them there; they're obviously there to challenge. But then there'll be other teams that will look to disrupt that, and that's where I've seen us. Now we're probably, even with everything that we've had this year, probably on around about a par where we maybe should be. However, our challenge, and certainly for me to come here, the idea was to come and be able to be fighting towards the top. And I think when we have the availability of players and we have our squad fresh and fit, then we've shown that we can do that. This year has been a challenge, and there's no getting away from that. However, it's not what the supporters want to hear. They still want to see you up there challenging, no matter who's available. So that's the big challenge that we have. And like I said, we don't want to accept. We want to keep fighting and keep pushing.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I understand about the fans. I'm just thinking from a managerial perspective how brutally realistic it is, because at some point, Manchester United go out and buy Ronaldo on deadline day. Arsenal can bring in players. Tottenham can bring in players, and that's even without talking about the 3 clubs, one of whom you're playing, who seem to be further away from all those 3. I just wonder how realistic season on season it is for a club like Leicester to keep pushing those bigger clubs?
Well, it is. It's a huge challenge, but we have to embrace it. I think the reality is of we really challenged that these last few years and this season because of the troubles that we've had. Then that's been tough for us, but we will never lose that ambition to go and fight. You know, you can put that towards the cups as well. I think in what the last numbers of years, outside of the top six, you probably have ourselves and I think it was Wigan that won the FA Cup. Other than that, most of the teams that have won have been in there. So the challenges are there, and they are great, especially with the difference in resources. But we still want to fight. We still want to play with the identity. I think that's what's also very important for me. Like I said to you before, I've always built my career around creating teams that people enjoy watching, and that identity is important. And that's something that at this moment in time, Simon, that's what's my priority, getting back to that level of football, which then allows us to grow and develop again.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Simon. We'll go to Owen from BBC Radio Leicester.
Hi, Brendan. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. On.
I wonder. I know you said earlier to Kirsty that the squad was pretty much going to be the same for tomorrow night. Is that exactly the same, or is there any maybe fresh injuries that you picked up over the weekend, or what's the situation there?
No fresh injuries. Should be the same squad.
Lovely. When we spoke to you post Forest, you spoke about hunger levels, desire levels, and them not being sort of where they need to be. Have you had to have honest conversations this week, like real honest conversations to almost refocus the players in those kind of areas?
It's something that's ongoing, Owen. It's something that's a constant reminder. I think the last couple of days have been more reflective period. We'll really focus in on that this afternoon. Players recovered yesterday and group trained very well. But yeah, the disappointment is there, but not just because of the result, but because of the performance. That's we went into that game at the weekend with a clear idea, understanding the challenge of playing Forest away, and of course we didn't perform and lost the game. So the players will know themselves, but yeah, we'll pick them up and get them ready again for the Liverpool game now. From
Sunday to Monday overnight, there was a video that emerged on social media. A lot of fans not very happy to see it, and there's a bit of a question mark, I suppose, on the time frame involving James Justin, Hamza Chowdhury, and Danny Ward. I wondered whether you'd spoken to those players and whether they'd revealed what that situation was.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it myself until yesterday, but I've spoken to the guys, and it was clearly not. Listen, I don't think it was the most sensible thing to do anyway, and no matter when it was to put something out. But I've been assured that when I've spoken to the guys that it definitely wasn't at the weekend. It was something that was had happened a number of weeks back. On a Saturday when we had no game, a Saturday evening, and the players were off on the Sunday. So they've been categoric with that, and I trust that is the truth of what they're saying.
Finally, Brendan, clearly this is the first time you've played Liverpool since the back end of 2021, where you had that 1-0 victory at King Power Stadium. I wonder what are the key learnings that you can take from that game to go to one of the toughest places in the league in Anfield?
Yeah, well, I think that what we took from that night was the spirit of the game. You're playing against a top team with top players, and you have to defend for your life. You have to run, and you have to work, and you need a little bit of luck, and then you have to then have quality when opportunities come to take them. So it'll be no different. Liverpool are a top team, got outstanding players, and I'm sure they'll be a little bit frustrated by the last result. But for us, we can only take that mentality into the game, and hopefully, let's see if we can perform to a much higher level than we did at the weekend.
Brendan, thank you very much, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, On. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.